Well, I need to eulogize and lay to rest another birthing person in the woke cemetery. Not sure if you guys are noticing anything missing here in the background. Back there. Right back there used to be a picture of the beautiful O face of Jamel Hill. I was walking out of my studio earlier this morning to go grab something inside the house. I shut the door. I heard something crashing to the floor as I was walking outside. Come back in to check it out, and the face of my beautiful Jamel is laying there on the floor. Obviously, I immediately broke into tears. The emotions were overflowing as I stared at the remains of my queen scattered across the floor. I didn't know what else to do. I gave her a proper burial in the backyard and watched as my dog finished off the ceremony by defecating on her grave. It was a beautiful, sentimental moment. But, enough with the emotions. Let's get into this. Imagine you're having a job fair. Perhaps you're looking to fill multiple positions at your company. Instead of reading through hundreds of resumes, half of them filled with spelling and grammatical errors, you book a room at a convention center. Bring all applicants in at once. In order to get people to show up, you got to let them know the job fair is happening, right? You create promotional flyers, you advertise on social media. You don't want any and everyone showing up, though. You're looking for the right candidates, a certain type of individual. In your promotional materials, you explain exactly the type of person that you're looking for. It reads something like this. We are looking for ambitious, driven individuals who want to grow their career with an amazing company. The following qualifications are required to be considered. You must be white, must be male, not a pretend male. You must be born with legitimate Franken beans. We don't accept the fake wiener. You must abide by the Christian faith and attend church every Sunday. Last but not least, you must be married to a biological woman. You advertise these standards, these qualifications on LinkedIn, Twitter, all over social media. Tens of thousands of people have seen the advertisements. What do you think the reaction would be? It wouldn't take 24 hours before the lawsuits were being filed. The mainstream media would crucify your company. You would be the leading story on MSNBC. Joy Reid would be shaking so hard with violent convulsions, her wig would fall to the floor. Her audience would be in shock as her bald head is revealed on national television. We all know what would happen if a company excluded potential candidates based on their race, religion, and identifier preference. So let me ask you something. How come the mainstream media is not crucifying the NHL this morning? After the playoffs last summer, I actually had high expectations for the NHL. The league seemed to be heading in the right direction. Ratings were up, interest in the league was increasing. ESPN was so happy with the NHL's performance last season, they demanded an increase in nationally televised games. The labor strike in the mid-2000s, it almost destroyed the NHL. Growing up in the 90s, the NHL was all over national television. Once they eliminated an entire season arguing over money, the NHL, they were on a steep decline. They were on life support. For years, you could not find regular season games on TV. Hell, even the playoffs were difficult to find on TV. They finally reached a broadcast deal with ESPN, I think it was in 2021. The league was starting to gain traction. They were starting to become relevant again. What do you do when normal people are gravitating towards your product? Smart companies figure out ways to keep their business. When it comes to professional sports, we're not dealing with smart organizations. We're dealing with wanker spankers. Instead of the NHL following the traditional model of building on your success, they decided to follow the NBA model. Convince as many normal people as possible not to watch your league. How do you get this accomplished? You dedicate yourself to diversity. We have touched on the NHL's dedication to diversity a couple of times here on the channel. The league has become one of the favorites in the mainstream media due to their dedication to filth. Last week, the NHL announced they were hosting a job fair in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They advertised the job fair on their LinkedIn page. Just like the fictional company I described earlier, the NHL, they were looking for a certain type of individual. This wasn't one of those job fairs that was open to the public. No. According to the NHL, in order to gain entry into this job fair, in order to be considered for employment, you must identify as a member of certain diversity demographics. You know how I tell you guys all the time you have to check enough woke boxes? Remember when Chris Light announced that CNN would be firing several on-air personalities? I said Don Lemon would not be included because he checked too many woke boxes. I'm sure some of you guys thought checking woke boxes was just something I made up, but it's real. I am going to read from the NHL's promotional materials as to what type of candidates they're looking to hire. Participants must live in the United States and identify as female, Black, Asian Pacific Islander, Hispanic, Latino, Indigenous, LGBTQIA++, pound my brown sign, and or a birthing person with a disability. Let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. You're looking for a Black female who identifies as male. Or you're looking for a Hispanic woman in a wheelchair. You're also qualified if you were born Dan but woke up this morning choosing to identify as Fran. From what I understand, the NHL is not looking for white men, white women, or Black men. Hell, they're not looking for dudes of any color, unless they're wearing a fucking dress and call themselves RuPaul. Not only is this 100% illegal, it's the complete opposite of two of their favorite woke boner words, equity and inclusion. The NHL essentially excluded 95% of the country from applying for this job. Where's the outrage from the mainstream media? I thought they were fighting to end mythical racism. The NHL excluded Black men from attending this job fair, unless, of course, they choose to identify as female. As of the time of this recording, the only mainstream media outlets that picked up this story, Fox News, the Daily Mail, and Mediaite. Nothing from the New York Times, nothing from the Washington Post. This entire NFL season, the Washington Post has published a weekly article dedicated to diversity hiring in the NFL. We want to see more Black head coaches in this league. The NFL has far too many evil white men in power. You know how many Black head coaches are in the NHL? None. In the history of this league, there has only been one Black head coach in the NHL. So why is the mainstream media giving the NHL a pass? I'll tell you who didn't give them a pass, the state of Florida. When I was researching this story this morning, I thought it was odd that the NHL chose to hold this job fair in Florida. Just last month, Ron DeSantis, he told the entire country, Florida is where the shitfucks go to die. If you demand to be addressed with shitfuck pronouns, your ass isn't welcome in the state of Florida. Once his administration found out about the NHL's diversity job fair, which represented anti-diversity, Ron DeSantis quickly put a stop to it. Now, he didn't address the issue himself. The NHL is so irrelevant, Ron DeSantis had his press secretary handle it. He basically said, the NHL is not welcome in Florida. Take your woke wiener and stick it in someone else's bun. Once the NHL received some resistance from Florida, they immediately began to backtrack. The original LinkedIn post advertising this event was alarmingly inaccurate. Our intent was not exclusion. We recognize our league is filled with white men. We just wanted to invite Black women along with legless Hispanic men who identify as female wheelchairs to collect woke welfare from our thriving league. Oh, that makes perfect sense. I don't know how the NHL operates, but I'm assuming this promotion had to be approved by multiple levels of management. They didn't just allow some intern to write this up and post it on social media. This was intentional. The NHL, they are begging for acceptance into Woke United Methodist instead of begging to be accepted by normal people. It is rare, extremely rare, to be given second chances. Once you lose the audience, damn near impossible to get them back. The NHL's been given a second chance. After 15 years of obscurity, the league was finally making it back into the mainstream. Nationally televised games every week on ESPN and TNT, playoffs on broadcast television, ratings trending in the right direction. Then you spend the entire offseason worried about fucking diversity. Last week, there were 3 games on national TV. Maple Leafs Red Wings on ESPN, 446,000 viewers, down 35%. The 2 games on TNT, 258,000, 217,000, down 41 and 53% from last year. The NHL is trying to appeal to the wrong demographic. They are trying to appeal to the shitfucks in the media who ignored them for the past 15 years, instead of appealing to normal people who gave you historic ratings for the Stanley Cup Finals last year. But go ahead. Go ahead. Keep marketing your league to the identifiers. Ask Adam Silver how that works out. In the last decade, the NBA has lost over half its audience. The problem for the NHL, they don't have half the audience to lose. The NHL loses 50-55% of their viewers. They're drawing WNBA level ratings. But give me your thoughts. The NHL doubles down on diversity by excluding the majority of the population. I don't consider myself to be a casual fan of the NHL. I did watch hockey growing up, but I gave the league a chance during the playoffs last year. I was willing to give them another chance this year, but this league constantly tells me they don't want my business, so I refuse to give it to them. What about you? Are you willing to give the NHL a chance? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.